Hello, this is Ms. DB, and in this video we're going to go over how to solve equations that include fractions. Now this was originally presented in your book in Chapter 2, Section 3 in the Solving Two-Step and Multi-Step Equations, but I didn't put any of these on that worksheet. Instead, the last few on the Solve Equations Simplify First worksheet is where you will see these kind of problems. Simplify first. So this is in the week 4 folder as well. All right, so let's see what we got going here. We have y over 8 minus 3/4 equals 7/12. So it's a little bit long and there's a bunch of fractions in it. We have two different methods to solve this. We can say, all right, here's the y. Here's my variable. It's being divided by 8, and then 3/4 is subtracted from it. So my first step could be adding 3/4 to both sides. So it's going to take some space to write this out. So there's the original equation, and now here it is with 3/4 added to both sides. Now this might be a time where writing it out vertically or horizontally might be better. So minus 3/4 plus 3/4 leaves me with just y over 8. Now where did they get 16/12 from? You have to change the two fractions to common denominators. So the top fraction, 7/12, has a denominator of 12. The second fraction, 3/4, has a denominator of 4. We need to make the 4 be 12s. So how do we do that? We say, okay, 4 times what equals 12? Our common denominator is going to be 12 because 12 is a factor of both of them. If you multiply the bottom by 12, you also have to multiply the top by 12. So the numerator is 3 times 3, or 9. The denominator is 4 times 3, or 12. Now we can add these. I don't know what that was all about. Now we can add these two together. 7/12 plus 9/12. 7 plus 9 is 16/12. That's where they got the 16/12 from. Although that's not in simplest form, it's true though. So now that you have that, we have y divided by 8. The opposite of dividing by 8 is multiplying by 8. So we can multiply both sides by 8. So when you multiply this side by 8, you get y. Now over here, we can simplify. We can say, all right, let's see. I know that 4 is a factor of 8 and 4 is also a factor of 12. So I can say 8 divided by 4 is 2. 12 divided by 4 is 3, and get this in simpler form. And then 2 times 16 is 32. That's the numerator times the numerator. And the denominator times the denominator is 3. So we end up with 32 over 3 as an answer. Here they are doing that a little bit slower. That's method 1, and you can check that, but it's going to be a big hassle to check. So I probably wouldn't check these the old-fashioned way. Maybe get a calculator. Okay, here's our other method. This is the method I would do if I was doing this. I would say, what is the least common denominator of 8, 4, and 12? What denominator would all of these be a factor of? So like it can't be 12 because 8 doesn't go into 12. It can't be 8 because 12 doesn't go into 8. It can't be 16. And what you can do to find out is you can write some of the multiples. So I can write 8, 16, 8 times 3 is 24. And it usually is better to write the multiples out for the bigger numbers. The smaller numbers, you're going to do this forever before finding the common multiple. But 24 is also a multiple of 4. Is it a multiple of 12? Yes. 24, 24, 24. 24 is the least common multiple, which is also the least common denominator of these three fractions. So what we're going to do is we're going to multiply both sides by 24. So when we multiply 24 times y over 8 minus 3/4, we have to do the distributive property. We have to take 24 times y over 8, and then we have to take 24 times negative 3 over 4. On the right side, it's just 24 times 7 over 12. Now we have to simplify this. I'm going to put a minus or divided by 1 on each one of these to make it look like a fraction. Let's simplify each of these a little bit. 8 is a factor of 24. 8 goes into 8 one time. 24 divided by 8 is 3. So this all simplifies to 3y. Now when you're doing this, the purpose was to clear the fractions, which means to eliminate the fractions. If you do this correctly, there won't be any fractions left, which is usually a good thing. The next part, I have a minus 24 over 1 times 3 over 4. So 4 is a factor of 24, so I can say 4 divided by 4 is 1, 24 divided by 4 is 6. Note the minus sign here. And then I multiply, 6 times 3 is 18. Again with that line, there should not be any fraction if I did this correctly, and 1 times 1, I don't have to write that down. And then I have my equal sign, and then on the other side, 12 is a factor of 24, so I can say 12 divided by 12 is 1, 24 divided by 12 is 2. So 2 times 7 is 14. And I'm left with a nice, simple, straightforward equation with no fractions that you can solve now, just like you practice solving in the 2.3 assignment and at the beginning of the solve equation simplify first. So you would just add 18 to both sides to undo the minus 18, and that gives you 32. And then we would divide both sides by 3. And we get the same answer that we got when we did all the work with fractions, adding 3/4, getting a common denominator, and then multiplying by 8, which you should. You should get the same answer even if it's a different method. You're going to do this more slowly than I did, but they'll get the same answer as well. This is another example. They're going to show method 1, which is to subtract 3/4. But remember, you'll have to get a common denominator. They just kind of magically got 1/6 without showing how they did it. And then you will have to undo the 2/3 times r, which you could multiply by the reciprocal. So eventually they got an answer of -1/4. The other method is to multiply by the least common multiple, or the least common denominator of 3, 4, and 12. This one's easy to do because the multiples of 3 are 3, 6, 9, and 12. The multiples of 4 are 4, 8, and 12, and 12, 12, 12. So we can multiply both sides of this by 12, and then we won't have any fractions anymore at all. So when you do that, just be very careful when you distribute the 12 through. 12 times 2/3 r plus 12 times 3/4 equals 12 times 7/12. And I'm going to again put the 1 under the 12. And then I'm going to cancel. I'm going to simplify before multiplying. 3 is a factor of 12. 3 divides into 3 one time. 12 divided by 3 is 4. 4 times 2r is 8r. 4 is a factor of 12. 4 divided by 4 is 1. 12 divided by 4 is 3. 3 times 3 is 9. It's plus because there's a plus here. The denominator is 1, so you don't have to write it. 12 and 12, we can just cancel those, or we could say 12 divided by 12 is 1, 12 divided by 12 is 1, and we get 7. So already we're ready for this nice two-step equation. No fractions. Just solve by subtracting 9 from both sides, and then dividing both sides by 8. We get a fraction as an answer, but it's a lot quicker to do this method than to subtract the fractions and then multiply by the reciprocal and so on. All right, on your worksheet, you have 3 of these to do. This is on the Solve Equation Simplify First worksheet. Let's see if we can figure out what the common multiple for 15 would be. Oh, that's going to be easy. We have 3, 5, and 15. So the multiples of 3 are 3, 6, 9, 12, and 15. Multiples of 5 are 5, 10, and 15. So that's our common multiple. And then you multiply both sides by that common multiple. Now we do the distributive property. On the left side, we have to take 15, I'm going to put the over 1, times w over 3, plus 15 over 1 plus 2, oh, not plus, sorry, times 2/5 equals 1 over 15 times 15 over 1. Make sure that you're multiplying both sides by this common multiple. Now we're going to simplify. I'm going to look for things that can cancel. I have a 3 in the denominator and a 15 up here. 3 is a factor of 15. I can take 3 divided by 3 and get 1, 15 divided by 3 and get 5. When you cancel, you have to divide by the same number. So I'm left with 5w. On the second set here, I have 15 in the numerator and 5 in the denominator. 5 is a factor of 15, so I can take 5 divided by 5 and get 1. 15 divided by 5 is 3. 3 times 2 is 6. It's a plus because there's a plus here. On the right side, I have 1 divided by 15 times 15 divided by 1. These cancel, and I just have 1, not 0, 1. 15 divided by 15 is 1. Now I'm going to finish this by subtracting 6, and then I'll divide by 5, and you'll get an answer. So these problems are not terrible. You just have to simplify first by multiplying both sides by the common denominator. In this one, the common denominator would be 10 because you have to multiply 5 times 2. So you're going to multiply, on the left side you'll have 10 times 3 is 30 equals, on this side you'll have a over 5 times 10, and you'll have to simplify that, and then you'll have 1 over 2 times 10. So simplify both parts, and then you should have a nice simple equation. This is an a, not a 9. Just make sure that you don't think it's a 9 as you write this, or you'll have no variable and you won't know what to do. Also on this worksheet, this is the same problem that you did in the 2.3 worksheet with one more step added. So in 2.3 you had to write an equation that said that the sum of these two angles is 90, and then you had to solve for x. The extra step is now find the measure of each angle. So your equation would be 2x plus 3x plus 5 is equal to 90. I just added this plus this, and it's equal to 90. Now I'm going to combine my like terms. 2x plus 3x is 5x plus 5 equals 90. Then I have to undo the plus 5 by subtracting 5 from both sides. And I get 85. And then I have to take 85 divided by 5, and I get 17. X equals 17. Now the next step says to find the measure of each angle. Angle ABC is marked as 2x. So now I just have to take 2 times 17 because now I know what x is, and I know that measure of angle ABC is 34 degrees. Measure of angle DEF was marked 3x plus 5. But now I know that x is 17. So I multiply 3 times 17, that's 51. And 51 plus 5 is 56 degrees. And I can check this by taking my answers, 34 plus 56, and making sure that it equals 90 like it was supposed to. And it does, so that checks. And these are the values, the measures of those angles. All right, so that's it for this video. The rest of the solve equations simplify first you can review by watching the 2.3 lesson video. Thanks a lot and have a great day.